I'm Charle Rinesmith. I work out at the prison. That's why I'm not here on Sunday mornings, because Sunday is my Monday for work week. I also coach football, OPH. I'm the defensive coordinator for OPH, and I'm also the youth pastor here. So while you don't see me on Sunday morning, I'm here most every other day. So having kids in my life is something that is ongoing, even though my kids are getting old. My oldest is sitting here right now with us. He's out of the house. Yes. One down, two to go. Okay. But I also wanted to let you know what fathers mean to me. In 1977, in July, I was born, and my father said, "That's not mine." My father denied me until I was 5 years old, and the military made him take me as his son. He denied me until I was 5 years old. Now, I don't remember any of that. That's something my parents had told me. And my biological father actually did tell me that, yeah, I denied you. I didn't want you. And he proved that to me over the next several years. When I was 2 years old, my parents were divorced, and my dad left. He did get visitations. He hated when I got to come. I know that because I remember times going to Dairy Queen and my brother and sisters getting banana splits and these big things, and I got the free cone that was about this big with ice cream included. That was all I got. I remember him setting my pants on fire while I was in them. He threw me down the stairs before I could walk. I had an abusive father. Now, I was also very lucky. And I say that because I had a guy that didn't have to be my dad that wanted to be my dad. A lot of you guys know Doug Henry. He's my father. He's my dad. He's the one that raised me. He's the one that made me who I am today, along with a few other people. He was there. The only time he missed a ball game or a track meet that I participated in was when he was serving his country overseas. So I had a loving father there for me that helped me. So fathers mean something to me. And anybody who's had an experience similar to that would understand what a true father is and what a true father can do for somebody in their lives. So when I found out this, I had enough time to prepare, so I started asking some people at work. And as you know, working at a prison, you can come in contact with some very interesting people that have gone through a lot of different experiences than you have. So I started asking what it meant to have a father in your life. What does your father mean to you? The majority of the people I asked didn't even know who their fathers were. And it didn't surprise me, but it also was one of those things, it kind of made me upset. So I started to look into some statistics, and I found more than I wanted to. So just to let you know what America is facing, these are statistics from America, not even all the way around the world. 25 million children live without their biological fathers. 25 million. And by the way, I asked the youth group a couple years ago. We had about 18 kids there at the time. I asked how many people live with both parents. The only ones that raised their hands were my kids and Aaron Peternell's kids. Rachel wasn't there. Josh is looking at me like, wait a second. No, Rachel wasn't there. But 25 million live without their biological father. Out of those 25 million, 18.4 million do not have any father figures at all. No biological father, no stepfather, and no adopted father. No father figures in their life. That's 18.4 million kids. So if you're a kid and you're listening and you got your father with you, consider yourself lucky. Those without fathers are 4 times greater to live in poverty, are more likely to have behavior problems, 2 times greater risk of infant mortality, more likely to go to prison, 85% of the inmates that we have in our prison systems come from a fatherless home. They're more likely to commit crime, obviously. They're likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. They are 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teenager. 2 times more likely to suffer obesity, 2 times more likely to drop out of school. 71% of the dropouts in the United States are from a fatherless home. 90% of homeless and runaway youth are coming from a fatherless home. And 60% of the suicides committed by youth today come from a fatherless home. Aaron had a quote earlier that said, anybody can be a father, but it takes somebody special to be a dad. That means more to me from just my story, not even looking at the statistics, but just from my story, it means so much more. And I wonder where I would be today if I didn't have a man who wanted to be my dad. And he didn't have to be. So I got to asking myself, what do you need before you become a father so you're ready to become a father? Can anybody think of anything that you need to be before you become a father? I'm a youth pastor, so if you holler something out, I'm used to it, okay? You have to be a man. She knows my sermon. I talked to her about it. You have to be a man, all right? There are so many today that try to be a father before they're even a man themselves. Okay? And I've looked at what it takes to be a man. I've studied what it means to be a man. I've tried to live like a good man. And I've come up with 4 things for a man to be. Okay? And you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with a fatherhood? Just be patient and you'll find out. Be a man first so you can teach kids how to be a man, your young son, or even a mentor. You have to be able to teach them how to be a man as well. Okay? For the girls, you have to be the example of what girls want in a man. If your daughter's looking at you and how you treat her mother, guess what? That's how she expects her husband to treat her. Okay? I think I'm doing something right, because I had Rachel over at the house a couple months ago. She was hanging out with Zoe, and Jennifer hadn't made it home from work yet, and I'm sitting on the couch. They're just sitting there watching TV with me. I don't know why they wanted to hang out with me, but they did. Jennifer comes in, and I always greet her, "Hey, beautiful." And Rachel looks at me and goes, "Relationship goals." And I'm like, okay, we're doing something right. Something's happening here. Okay. But there's 4 things in becoming a man that they're broad, and you can fit a lot of different things in it, but these are the 4 things to be a man. 1, a servant king. As a man, you have authority over your household. In any aspect of authority, you're serving somebody else. As politicians, they're supposed to be serving us. They've forgotten that, but they're supposed to be serving us. Our military, they serve our country. They serve us. They protect us. As a husband and a father, I serve my wife and I serve my kids. As a correctional officer, unfortunately, I serve the inmates. Without me there, they don't get to eat. They don't get to do anything but sit in their beds. So you are serving somebody if you have authority over them. Number 2, you have to be a tender warrior. Now, that sounds like an oxymoron. Sorry, my mouth is dry. But to be a tender warrior means you're willing to fight for those you protect. You're willing to fight for those you love. But you also know exactly when to be that gentle person that'll pick them up off the ground when they fall. Okay? There's times where my kids deserve a good old whooping, and I wasn't afraid to give it to them. But there was times they didn't need a whooping. They need a soft hand to grab them up and pull them back up. And you have to be able to know the difference between the two and when to do it. Number 3, you have to be a loyal friend. As a man, your word means a lot. As a man, you stay loyal to those who deserve your loyalty. You stay loyal to your church. You stay loyal to your wife. Some you can substitute faithfulness. You stay loyal to God. Number 4, a wise mentor. Okay, there's always somebody that needs somebody to mentor them. I had mentors in my life that I turned to. I still do. And I like to hope that I'm passing that down to others. All right, what's the second thing you need before you can become a father? Not my wife, because she knows this. This is something a lot of people skip, a lot of people forget about before they become a father. And that is to become a husband. All right, it's only fair to the kids to give them both mom and dad. All right. Now, I say this is the ideal situation. This is what God had intended. Does it make you less of a father if you're not a husband? Absolutely not. Okay, but ideally, to love your children and to give them the best there is, mom and dad have to be in the picture. Now, it doesn't always work out. There might be deaths, you guys get split up or whatever. However, you still have to be mom and dad. All right, there still has to be a mom and dad there. Mothers do a lot more for children that men cannot do. Men do a lot more for kids that women cannot do. It's just the way it is. God has intended it that way. By becoming a husband first, you learn how to be a better man. You learn how to love somebody else, to put somebody else in front of you before those kids ever come along. Okay? My oldest was born before I was married to. I'm actually his stepfather, not biological, but I'm dad. Okay? That doesn't make him less of a son. That doesn't make me less of a father. That just makes our circumstances different. Okay? Those are the two main things to become before you become a father. And then something that I keep in my mind every time I make a decision, every time I do something for my family, is Joshua 24:15, the tail end of that verse. Some of you guys may know this already, but for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Okay, that seems so simple. But what if you read that verse, what does it talk about first? As for me. As for me, I have to serve the Lord. If I don't serve the Lord, how much harder will it be for my family to? If I'm not the one that's getting up in the morning and say, it's time to go, let's go. Jennifer and I had no kids in the house today when I got up. Guess who was pushing Jennifer out the door? All right. Her schedule's about to change and go to 7 to 3, the same shift that I work at work, so we can ride together. Guess who's going to be late for the first time in 12 years when that happens? But that's the point. When you, as the man of the household, serve the Lord, you're teaching your kids to serve the Lord. Like Aaron said with those quotes earlier, the example means so much more. I can tell them, go to church, go to church, go to church. And if I'm sitting at home or at the fishing hole, how serious are you going to take it? That was like my grandpa said, don't you ever smoke, while he had 3 packs in his pocket. But if you read that out, and as for me, see, you come first. If you serve the Lord, your household will follow. And then it keeps on going. As for me and my household, that means you are spiritually responsible for your house. Now, I've seen men come to the Lord because of a strong woman. But I can tell you the impact was so much more when the man was doing it too. We will serve the Lord. Always in service of the Lord. So what does it mean to be a good father then? I've broke that. I like lists. When I write sermons for you guys, I write them like I'm teaching youth. Okay? Because that's the only way I know how. Okay? So I tried to break it down and make it simple. I tried to figure out what's the best things, and you could put as many things into one category as possible. And to be a good father, first you're going to have to teach. And anybody that says, well, I'm not a good teacher, guess what? You are anyways. All right? If you don't teach them verbally, you're teaching them physically. You're showing them how to do what you have to do to be a man. Proverbs 22:6 says, train a child in the way of he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. That is true. When you train your child or teach your child how to be a man or how to find the right man, they're not going to forget those things. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Well, you know, my son or my daughter has grown up. They don't go to church anymore. They don't believe anymore. And I've seen that myself. But guess what? They remember what you taught them. Their morality comes from what you taught them. And I've seen more come back than stay away. When you train up in the Lord, you give them something good, and that remains with them their whole life. You're teaching them how to follow God. You're teaching them to live a life of honor. Today, that word means very little to a lot of people. It means a lot to me. Okay, when you live a life of honor, you're living a life of integrity. That means you're teaching them how to live a life of integrity. And I always believed that honor is given to you. You don't make honor. You don't earn honor. But I honor Josh because he serves in the military. He gave his life to serve our country. And I honor him for that. Did he do something to earn it? Yes. But I give it to him. And that's the same thing your kids should be doing for you. There's a scripture, honor your mother and father. Kids, the best way to honor your mother and father is to become a godly man or woman. You're teaching them how to love and be loved. I've seen far too much people don't know how to receive love. I can tell you when me and my wife first got together, I did not know how to receive love. She was my third engagement. I was only married once to her, but I was engaged to 2 other women before her. And these 2 women did not give me love very well. I didn't see it at the time because I was blind. I was young and dumb, and I just saw girl. But it was funny when I decided, nope, I'm done. I'm just going to date. I'm going to have some fun. I'm young. I'm single. I'm going to keep it that way. 6 months later, I was engaged again. But this time, I was engaged to the woman God gave me. And it took us a while, but I figured out how to receive the love that she was giving to me. Kids are the same way. They don't know how to receive love. They know how to love you. But that father that beats their kids, to them, that's love. So when they grow up, they're going to find somebody that'll beat them, and then they'll know that's how they receive love. But if you're the gentle, caring father that loves them the way God intended you to love them, that's what they're going to look for when they're older to receive love. Second thing, to be a good father, you have to be a leader. You have to lead. Fathers are the spiritual leaders of their household. We've talked about it already once, but to lead is to serve. So you're serving your family. You lead by example. Okay, before I started at the prison, I worked at ATS, now Toyota Bushco, and I would train a lot of people in supervisor training. And I don't know how many supervisors came through my training that had never once learned the jobs of the people that were working for them. As a supervisor, I know how to work every job of the people that are working for me. You get so much more respect that way. But you also lead by how you treat them, by them knowing, oh, this guy knows what I have to go through. They're going to work harder for you. And it's the same way with the kids. If you treat your wife in a bad way and don't try to empathize with her, that's exactly what they're going to go up to look for. That's exactly what's going to happen to them later on. Genesis 18:19 said, "For I chose him." See, guys, you were chosen to be the leader of your household. "For I chose him so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the ways of the Lord." It's on you. I once had a guy tell me that if your kids go to hell, it's your fault. Now, I don't know how much truth is in that, because I can see that if they're young, but they're old enough to understand what Christ is and what he did for us. But if you have led them astray, is that your fault? Think about that a second. He might give you the iPad. But you have been chosen by God to be the leader of your household. So you have to teach and you have to lead. Another thing that a lot of you probably already know and understand is you have to provide. 1 Timothy 5:8 says that anyone who does not provide for his relatives, and especially for his immediate family, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Now, the key word is provide. And everybody's probably thinking, well, I got a good job. I provide financially. I got that down. All right, that's great. That's one part. That's one part. You also have to provide physically. All right, I don't know too many 3- and 4-year-olds that can get a job and earn enough money to eat. I don't know too many teenagers that earn enough money and are responsible enough with money to clothe themselves. Now, I believe God will provide, but God will provide a lot more for those who help themselves. You have to provide mentally. Provide them with a good education. Provide them with a safe environment for them to grow and develop in God. And again, you have to provide spiritually. Now, I'm not saying you have to be God, obviously, but you have to provide the opportunities for them to grow spiritually, bringing them to church, youth group, kids' time, things like that. It's your responsibility to make sure that they're here. And I know so many parents that use those times as free babysitting, and they get a date night. That's okay. We'll take them. But you're providing so much more. And the key thing that you have to provide, the most important thing that you have to provide as a father, as a parent, is love. Again, you're teaching them how to love and be loved. And if you're not providing that love, how are you teaching them? You have to provide their mom with love. And guess what? If you're divorced If you're separated and that's their mom over there, you still need to love them. No matter how hard that is, you still need to love them, because that is the mother of your child. She brought that child to you. Without her, you wouldn't have that child. And that child still sees her as mom. I saw a Facebook thing Jennifer showed me, because Facebook is like poison to me. This man, he had been divorced his wife for 4 or 5 years, something like that. They had a 3-year-old little girl. This guy went out and bought her mom flowers, candy, and a present. Was it from him? No. It was from their daughter. But he took her to see her, gave that stuff to her, and appreciated her as the mother of their children. To be a father is also to love the person that gave you that child. So providing love is very important. That's probably more important than anything else. All right, I've seen families with nothing. It's about 5 or 6 years ago, I used to take food to families of need. And all the ones it seems like I stopped at were ones that fathers were gone. And I remember one, it's a younger lady, a very attractive woman. She lived in a trailer. It was the dead of winter. It was the whole week, it's been about 30 to 35 degrees, so it was cold. And I would show up once a week to bring meals to them. And one of the little ones came up and tugged on my pant leg, looked up at me, and asked me if I was going to be their new daddy. That's all they were looking for, was a new daddy. That's what they wanted. Okay? And that's the thing. Kids want dads. Kids need dads. But you need to teach, lead, and provide. And the last thing, and probably one of the most important things, is you need to protect them. Okay? It's easy to say that you'll lay down your life for somebody, but when it's time to come, it's difficult. Okay? When you protect someone, like Aaron said earlier with one of the quotes, you learn how to put the welfare of someone else in front of you, or behind you, I should say. You stand guard. Okay. I love security. Okay. Me and Aaron have had many talks about security here at the church. There's still things I'd like to see done, just FYI. But working out at the prison, it's all about security. When you look at your kids, it should be, how can I protect them from everything that would ever cause them harm? And I've heard that saying, well, you got to let them make their own mistakes. Yes, you do, but you can lessen the impact as well. But you have to protect them, obviously, physically, mentally, and spiritually. But how do we do that? Well, there's influences in your kid's life that you have to look out for. All right? I've named some of these influences. They're friends. Just because someone's nice to them now doesn't mean they'll always will be. Their friends should be something that you scrutinize constantly. All right? My daughter has a couple really, really good friends. Their favorite thing to do is to go to church camp together. This is the kind of friends that you would want to see your kids have. My daughter, this has been probably last year, she had a group of friends over. That's been probably 2 years ago. She had a group of friends over, and they were sitting in the living room making crafts. Yes, she was 14 and making crafts. and they were listening to music. And I come out of the kitchen all the way from the back of the house and came to the front of the house, and they were listening to Crowder and Wren Collective, which are two Christian bands. And I'm like, there's no point in even checking on these kids. I just went back and ignored them. And but that's what they did on their own, okay? And it made me feel good as a parent that, hey, I might be doing something right, because what they choose to do on their spare time is to listen to music that praises God. And the funny thing, they were making crafts to sell them to help out her friend's grandfather who was sick. Now, don't get me wrong. My kids are ornery. They know how to get in trouble. I'm just telling the good stories. Their education. Do you know by law in Illinois that they have to teach LGBTQ history at school? Do you know there are teachers right now that are teaching that our founding fathers were evil men? And that's in our public schools. Their education's important. Now, I'm not saying you should take them and go homeschool them. That is your choice. We tried it. It didn't work for us. But your influence at home can be more powerful than that influence at school. Some of the most college-educated people that I know are the dumbest people I know as well. I'm glad everybody agreed. I won't clarify. Their music. Their music should be watched. Music has some odd things coming out of it nowadays. I won't even begin to express some of the things that I've heard with their music. Their movies. Movies are very much agendaed today. They have an agenda of teaching your kids what to believe is right and wrong, and God's not part of it. And that's hard for me to say because I love movies. Ask my wife. Okay. I'm approaching 2,000 Blu-rays at home in my man cave. And my wife's like, why do you have them? I might want to watch them one day. But she's like, well, we have Netflix and Hulu and Peacock and 5 other ones that I don't even know exist. But movies today have an agenda to them. Movies today are teaching something. All movies in all time teach something, okay? But be careful what movies you let your kids, especially the young ones, watch. The internet is another influence that has huge ramifications. Now, I'm going to tell you, social media can be used for good things. But I can tell you right now, social media is fake. You only see what they want you to see. You're not looking at the things that shape the reason they're there. And they're video games. 6 things. They're video games. Video games can be extremely violent, bloody, gory, and nasty. I've also seen video games that are fun, like Mario. But so those are the 4 things to be a good father. And I could sit up here and talk about being a father all day long. I could talk about how being a bad father. I haven't been the best father at some times. I haven't been the greatest, but I haven't been the worst either. But fatherhood is something very special. We have an example to follow as dads. We have God. He's never let us down, never will let us down. He knows what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. And he wants to give you everything you want. That sounds like a good dad to me. And that's the thing. All we have to do to be a good father is to follow his example.